Have you ever been in a conversation where everyone's talking over each other, but the one person who says almost nothing somehow ends up being the most respected in the room? That's not an accident. Friedrich Nietzsche understood something most people still don't. In a world addicted to noise, silence can be the sharpest weapon you own. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of someone who sees more than they say. We live in a culture that rewards quick answers, constant updates, instant reactions. If you pause too long before responding, people think you're unprepared. But Nietzsche would say the opposite. The ability to hold your tongue, to wait, to observe. That's a sign of strength, not weakness. In Beyond Good and Evil, he wrote about the discipline of great men, and one of those disciplines was restraint, to know when to speak and when not to. The most powerful thoughts are often the ones you don't share immediately. Psychology backs this up. In negotiations, studies have shown that pausing, letting silence fill the space, often makes the other person reveal more, rush to fill the gap, or even concede without realizing it. Silence creates pressure, but it also creates room. Room for you to see the whole picture before you act. Nietzsche's will to power wasn't about domination for its own sake. It was about mastery of oneself first. And self-mastery means not letting your impulses run the show. One of history's best examples isn't from a philosopher, but from a politician, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was famous for listening far more than he spoke. In tense cabinet meetings, he would let his advisors debate, argue, even attack his ideas, while he sat, silent, taking it all in. By the time he spoke, he had the full map of the argument, every strength, every weakness, every emotional current in the room. His measured words often ended the debate, not because he was loud, but because he was precise. Nietzsche would have called that the art of seeing before acting. Here's the problem. Most people confuse silence with passivity. They think if you're not talking, you're not contributing. Nietzsche knew that silence, used well, is active. It's a choice. It's a tactic, and it's often more effective than the best speech. Inhuman, all too human. He wrote about the psychology of the listener, how listening without rushing to respond allows you to see patterns and motives invisible to those caught up in the moment. Think about it. In any social situation, people are revealing themselves constantly through their tone, their word choice, their timing. But if you're too busy planning your next clever line, you miss it. Silence isn't just keeping your mouth shut. It's redirecting your energy from output to intake. It's like switching from playing a game to watching it from above. Suddenly, the moves make sense. Imagine a chess player who makes their moves instantly. Even if they're talented, they're playing blind to the deeper strategy. Now imagine one who studies the board, waits, and only moves when they've considered every possibility. The slower player may seem passive, but they're the one shaping the game. Social life works the same way. The board is every interaction you have, and silence is your time to read it before you play your piece. Let's make this actionable. Nietzsche wasn't writing how-to manuals, but we can take his insights and turn them into steps you can practice. Resist the reflex to fill the gap. In conversations, when there's a pause, don't rush to speak. Count to 3 in your head. You'll be surprised how often the other person will reveal more than they intended. Observe body language before words. People communicate more in how they move, breathe, and look than in what they say. Use silence to focus on those cues. Ask once, then wait. When you ask a meaningful question, stay quiet afterward. Even if the silence feels awkward, that's often when the real answer comes out. Nietzsche didn't see human interaction as just words bouncing around. He saw it as a contest of perspectives, a constant play of power, not necessarily domination, but influence. And influence often comes from holding something back. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the wise man is the one who doesn't spill every truth at once, but lets it ripen, chooses the moment, and then speaks with the weight of having truly seen. In today's social media world, overexposure is the norm. We post every thought, every reaction, instantly. Nietzsche would likely see this as a form of weakness, the inability to keep anything in reserve. The person who says less, but means every word, builds a reputation for depth. People listen because they know you're not speaking, just to hear yourself talk. Think about the people you know who command respect without raising their voice. It might be a manager who only speaks when there's something important to say, or a friend who doesn't dominate conversations, but whose advice you take seriously when they finally give it. That's the same social gravity Nietzsche is pointing toward, the kind that comes from controlled presence, not constant performance. This isn't just about sounding smart or winning arguments. It's about cultivating a mind that sees clearly before it acts. Silence gives you the advantage of time to notice motives, spot contradictions, or simply decide that some battles aren't worth fighting. And in a world where speed is worshipped, that patience becomes a rare and powerful form of intelligence. Silence isn't empty. It's a space where perception grows. Nietzsche's lesson is simple but demanding. To outthink others, you must first outweight them. Nietzsche didn't romanticize silence for its own sake. He warned that if you withdraw completely from the social game, you risk becoming invisible. The point isn't to be absent, it's to be deliberate. There's a difference between someone who is silent because they're afraid and someone who is silent because they're choosing to observe. One is hiding, the other is positioning. Nietzsche's silence was the latter, a pause loaded with awareness. In Beyond Good and Evil, he criticized those who speak simply to please or to fit in, saying that truth often needs a long ripening before it's ready to be shared. That ripening happens in silence. From a social psychology perspective, silence does two powerful things. It shifts the power dynamic. People are used to immediate responses. When you don't give one, they start to question themselves, and they often reveal more than they intended. It signals control, the ability to pause and think before you speak, shows you're not being ruled by impulse. It makes others feel that when you do speak, it's worth hearing. Nietzsche's philosophy always returned to the idea of self-mastery. Without control over your reactions, you're easy to read, easy to provoke, easy to defeat. In debates, in negotiations, even in everyday disagreements. Steve Jobs was known for using long silences in meetings. He would listen to a pitch, then say nothing. The pause could stretch for seconds, even a minute. People would start scrambling to justify themselves, filling the quiet with details they hadn't planned to reveal. Jobs didn't have to interrogate them. His silence did the work. That's Nietzsche's principle in action, letting the other person expose their hand while you keep yours close. Of course, there's a line. Silence can be misread as arrogance or disengagement if it's not balanced with genuine attention. Nietzsche's ideal was never cold detachment. It was a silence that listens, studies, and respects the moment, not one that dismisses it. The key is to stay present. When you're quiet, your eyes, your posture, your focus should tell the other person, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm weighing this carefully.